I want to thank all of you that came out today and all of you that have supported this monument coming into its beginnings today and eventually to its fruition. Um, wow, 40 years, that's a long time. I can remember the first incident that I had, and that was when I had a catch one in Houston in 1981, and I was waiting for the queen that was putting the drag show together to arrive, so that she could do what she did. And a few of her friends came in and said, um, "You know, April's not coming today." I said, "What do you mean April's not coming today? She didn't call me or anything, and that's not like her. She's in the hospital with pneumonia, they told me. She's been in there for a week." Okay. The show went on, but April did not. Within a week of that time, she was dead. Then I started getting calls from my folks here in LA telling me that there was pneumonia, this plague going on. And so right away I closed the club in Houston as fast as I could to get back home to my home family, the folks that had been with me from the very beginning. I have probably at least 1,000 stories I could choose from or more. But I'm going to start with one that was the dearest to my heart. And it started with my spouse, Rue, opening up Rue's house, which was the first home or shelter in the country for women and children with AIDS. This was after we had helped open the Minority AIDS Project, um, after I was on the board of APLA. Um, we realized that there was no space for women, especially women with their children, to be able to come and keep their kids with them. This one lady in particular, her name was Iris, and she was from East Los Angeles. She was probably about 40 years old and had lived in Watts her entire life and had never been to the beach. So one of the things that we built into our program was taking, thank you, okay, taking our clients to places that they had not visited here in Los Angeles. While Iris was there, she had the baby, and the baby stayed there with us for like 3 years too. And once Iris died, the grandmother took the baby, and I didn't hear much about how the kid was doing after that. But it so happens that she had gone to Crossroads High School, and her last desire that she had was to stay alive long enough to graduate from high school. She was 17 and she did graduate from high school. And within 3 or 4 months of that, she too had passed. Like I said, there's a lot of stories. One uh, I'm going to tell about a bartender that worked for me. His name was Henry. And Henry was the funniest dude that you could ever imagine listening to. And we used to talk all the time. I said, "Henry, you know, you got to be safe. You got to be safe." He said, "Oh, no, sister, I'm fine. I'm doing." I do everything that I'm supposed to do. And then one day he came by and he said, he called me sister. He said, Sister, I'm on my way to get my test. Okay. You want me to go with you? He said, No, there's nothing wrong with me. I shouldn't have it. Okay. So he left, came back about an hour or two later, and he said, Sister, I can't believe it. Tears rolling down his face. I've got it. I said, okay, now what are we going to do about it? We're going to live the life that you have ever dreamed about and do as much as you can for others because that's the key to it, to staying alive, I feel, is to be in of service and helping as many people as you can. It helps you. You're the one that gets the reward from it. And I feel like the preacher talking to the choir because all of y'all know what I'm talking about. And he was with us for a couple of years. And my last story is about a gentleman that was 50 when when he came to the Unity Fellowship of Christ Church, which was the black church that was the parent company to the Minority AIDS Project. And one Sunday after church, he came over and laid his head on my shoulder and began to cry. He said, I was just diagnosed. He was 50 years old and just getting diagnosed. And just was ready to throw the towel in. He just knew he was going to die. And I said to him, as I said to you, the way you live is to become involved. And even if it's a moment or an hour or whatever you have left, then you live that to the fullest and you live that serving other people. Well, 31 years later, at 81, James did pass. And he worked at an AIDS organization, Spectrum. Dr. Wilbur Jordan was the founder of that organization. And last but not least, once I mention Wilbur Jordan, it comes to me that when the epidemic first began, AZT was pretty much the only medicine that was available for folk being. And most black folk were allergic to it, so they could not take it. And Wilbert came to me and he said, Jewel, help us out a little bit. I know a place south of the border where I can get some interferon, and that interferon, it seems to work. So we were able to help him finance that, and I think saved a lot of lives in that day. And this is it, one last story for this guy over here with the white beard playing Santa Claus. So, he has done so much for all of our communities, but especially the black AIDS community. Phil. And I had the privilege of seeing him grow into being this fine gentleman that he is, and never giving up. Appreciate you for that. So this monument, and on the 29th of June, I've been invited to go to the ceremony at the black at the in the meantime, men's groups space, which is where Chris Brownlee and Michael Wiles, Weinstein, and Carl Bean. It was the Carl Bean's house. And that day they're going to dedicate the Black AIDS Monument on the 29th. So this thing is growing. Feels good too, um, to honor those lost. But I'm of the ilk that we're all energetic beings, and we never really leave. Uh, the bodies wear out, and they're put to rest. But the energy of all those folks, like um, Chris, and like I said, I could call off 1,000 names if I wasn't so old and retarded. But thank you for listening.